very special guests today on the show. We have Bollywood actor Deepika Padukone, who, mind you, will not be talking about movies, but about her entrepreneurial journey, all about your brand, about the business of money and things like that. We also, of course, have Anant Narayanan, the CEO of Myntra and Jabong, to take us through the big push as far as the private label business is concerned and the focus areas going ahead. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking on the time and joining us. Wonderful having you.
Thank you.
Deepika, want to understand from you, it's been 3 years since All About You is on Myntra. You co-own the brand. You work closely on it. How's the journey really been? How did the idea really come by, for you to think about having a brand and then have it on Myntra as well?
Wow. I think the idea really was mutual, if I may say. I think I was looking to extend beyond just a vanilla brand endorsement, which I think is what everyone does. But I thought it was exciting, and I was at a stage where I was ready to sort of go beyond. And I think for me, Myntra were absolutely the right partners in every way possible, because whether it's the ideology of the brand, whether it's being able to reach millions of homes, or the impact, the influence, I think all of it. And I think Myntra also was looking at private labels at that point. And so it kind of just happened together. It wasn't sort of, I think both of us were ready for this partnership, and I think that's the reason it's been so successful. Of course, it's been a lot of learning, because I think from being from being an actor to then to actually guiding and sort of leading a brand in that sense, and everyone who works on this brand has definitely been, I'd say, a lot of learning along the way. I think as creative people, we tend to look at only the creative aspect of everything that we do. But I think I have the best partners, as far as All About You is concerned. And I think they've really, over the years, made me understand the importance of the business aspect of it and how that works, and how do you get business and creativity to work best together.
Got it. How easy or difficult was it for you to really be, did you have it easy because, well, you're a celebrity, or did you have sleepless nights and, really go through that tough task of an entrepreneur, where you're sort of anticipating how the response will be, and, the 3 years, have you closely tracked it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the bundle of nerves is always going to happen, whether it's a film or whether it's, launching a new brand. I think anything new, any new territory that you venture into, I think, in fact, I'd say it would be not normal if one didn't feel that bundle of nerves, right? Because you put in so much of yourself and time and energy into doing what you do. I think that little bit of nervousness is always good. Yeah. But at the same time, you also have to enjoy the process, and I think we've done that right from the time we launched in Delhi 3 years ago. I remember Anant and I walked the ramp.
You did too?
Yeah, you did.
I was a natural, I think.
And,
no, not quite.
So I think you have to, it is a learning process, and I'm sure 2 years from now, if you interview us again, I'm sure we would have had many more experiences from when we first started off 3 years ago.
All right. Anant, coming to you, you sort of have a very innovative model, partnering with celebs. You co-own the brand. You also, of course, have the celebs, have a say in the brand. But talk to us about, where does, the brand really stand right now? How big is it?
Sure.
Is it sort of notching closer to the 100 crore mark? Will we see a 100 crore brand from Deepika after seeing several of the movies, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I just wanted to start off by saying I think it truly is a partnership. I think we both learn from each other, and I think that's been the best part about it. So AAY this year will do, in fact, 100 crores in GMV, 3 years into it, which I think is actually probably the fastest celebrity brand in the country, right? Certainly, I think certainly among the many things that we have seen, it's actually really done well. I think the other thing that's quite unique about this is we do both Western wear and Indian wear. And I think getting that mix right, and I think even the name All About You, I think all those are quite unique. And I think it really appeals to the audience that we actually get to. And I think every season we've gotten better, right? And I think that also helps. So I think we're very excited. Incidentally, the ethnic portfolio of All About You is growing at 60+%, right? So it's growing incredibly fast. And I think Deepika often makes sure that we actually grow it at the right quality level as well, which I think is really important, because I think you have to get the brand right and you have to get the business right. And I think the balance needs to be there.
I saw Deepika smile at the fact that this will be a 100 crore brand, you know, after several movies. But Deepika, you know, what from here in terms of categories? You know, would it be a natural extension to have footwear, perfumes? Are you thinking, you know, in terms of adding new categories? Because it's an interesting proposition, because Western wear and, you know, ethnic wear, you've sort of really envisaged and pushed it forward. And do men at all figure on the list in terms of?
Absolutely. I think All About You is definitely that. I think it's all about celebrating your individuality. It's about being inclusive, and I'm very glad that as a brand we sort of represented that and stood for that much before a lot of other brands, if I may say. So definitely, I think a lot of what you mentioned definitely figures, but I think, you know, I think a little bit of a surprise is also good. So you'll see some announcements soon.
All right, interesting. We look forward to it. Anand, you know, take us through the consumer profile of a customer. Because Myntra, you know, we've been talking quite frequently every season on season. It's the smaller cities that you see a lot of demand. So All About You also, you know, is that an aspiration in the tier 2, tier 3 markets where the brand is not available, you know, they have a connect with Deepika and they don't have an access to brands. So does that sort of, you know, is that the pattern?
No, I think there's huge potential. So the average customer, to start there, is of a 25 to 35-year-old woman. The ethnic is slightly younger, I think between 22 and 27, but I think that's the range. Today, if you will, I think the big cities are the large markets, also because our AISPs and prices are slightly mass premium. But as we do more ethnic, I think there's more and more of the tier 2 cities that are starting to grow. And as I told you before, I think Myntra and Jabong continue to grow much faster in those cities. So I think this will be a natural extension, and I think they are looking for brands. I think the connect with Deepika, plus the brand and the quality of the products, I think it'll certainly grow in tier 2 and tier 3. I think it's a big push for us this festive, in fact.
You know, I'm going to ask you something that Deepika will also be curious to, and I'm sure she has plans firmed up. Taking the brand global, you know, you have Walmart on the table now. Does it make it easy for you to take the brand, you know, will we see All About You or other brands go global, you know, for fans all over the world?
So we try and make all these decisions in an EP press conference, of course. No, I think the answer is certainly there's opportunity. I think to take several of the private brands global, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I think there is a large Indian diaspora which actually does have a connect, whether it's Canada, whether it's the US, whether it's, you know, many countries, the UK, etc. Right? So we'll have to think through it. But I think there's certainly potential for the overall brand and many of the other private brands to go global.
All right. Deepika, it's been 3 years. Incidentally, I think I was reading up, also your foundation, Live, Love and Laugh, was also, I think, will complete 3 years in October. So as an entrepreneur, you know, what's that one big learning that you've had, learning curve, and one mistake that you would want to share with fellow entrepreneurs or people who are starting up?
I wouldn't say mistake at all. I feel like you need to go through the ups and the downs to get to where you are. So I don't look at mistakes as mistakes. In fact, I think it's very important to go through all of that.
And then be where you are.
And learn. How else are you going to learn? You know, of course, you learn from all the right things that you do, but I think you learn more from all the mistakes that you make. You know, so I think whether it's the foundation, whether it's, you know, the fashion label, all of it has, I think it's enriched me so much also as a person, because as an actor, there's just one thing that you do. But whether it's interacting with mental health care professionals, or whether it's, you know, working with people from, you know, from the digital world or the business side of it, you get to learn so much more. You meet people who have a completely different point of view, or a completely different, I'd say, thought process with regards to every single thing, you know. And I think I'd like to believe that people learn a lot from me, and you know, I definitely learn a lot from all the people that I've interacted with over the last couple of years.
Anand, how easy or tough has it been to have Deepika on board over the last 3 years?
Tough, very tough.
I think in a good way. You know, my sense, by the way, is I think the best partnerships are ones that challenge each other. I think if you just sort of agree to everything that the other person wants, actually you don't end up pushing what you want to really get done. So I do think, by the way, we've learned a lot from each other. I do think there's been lots of push, and I think that's a good thing. I think the important thing in all of this is to actually listen and learn as you go through the process. And I think there, by the way, I think with Deepika it's been fabulous, right? We've always had an open feedback mechanism. We've always had a culture of telling each other that I think whatever is not working, you let them know. Whatever is working also, you let them know. And I think that's how partnerships are built. And we've learned a lot. And I'm glad to hear that you've learned a lot about business too, Deepika. It's good.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, because I think initially I came in completely focused on just the creative aspect of it, and not understanding things like, you know, having to buy in certain volumes or having to hit certain figures, and you know, and from their point of view, you know, it was all about hitting the figures. But you know, maybe quality was not so important, or the design was not so important. So it really, you know, I had to understand where they were coming from. So we've had to go through that journey of finding, you know, how do you hit the numbers, how do you get the quality right, how do you get the design right, you know, all of that.
You know, Anand, I want to understand the private label, you know, business has been very integral to the Myntra strategy. You know, you spoke about how 25% of the business will come. It hit profitability last year. You said that's a big push. Where does it go from here? You know, offline is also a big push. So going ahead, you know, how much do you see the private label push really, and what role will the celebrity brands like All About You also play in the scheme of things?
Yeah, so I think firstly, by the way, I want to differentiate between private brands and private labels. I think with All About You, for example, we're thinking about it as a national brand, perhaps a global brand, right? So when you think about it as a brand, you need some sense of design constancy across seasons. You also need it to stand for something. So I think we're building these as brands. If you think about the marketing investments that we do, if you think about how we're building this up, we're not just trying to get to scale, we're trying to get to scale in the right way. So we're building it really as a national brand. I think, by the way, there's huge potential. So India is today a $100 billion fashion and retail market. 75% of it is unbranded today, right? In most other countries, that ratio is reverse. So as GDP grows, there will be more and more need for brands. I think in general, in the women's space, right, the number of brands are even fewer. So I think we have a huge opportunity to build this up into a real national brand, both on the Indian wear side and on the Western wear side, because I think there's just not enough brands going around. So I think there's huge potential.
You know, Deepika, I must ask you this. You are an entrepreneur, apart from really being an actor, All About You and your other initiatives. Any broad plans for startups that you have? You know, we of course saw the big Walmart deal, you know, sort of reinforcing, you know, how common people could go on to become entrepreneurs. Do you have any plans of investing in startups? Any specific space that you're looking at? Would it be fashion, fitness, or movies going ahead?
Yes, that's definitely something that I'm exploring, and but I think it's in its very initial stages, but definitely something that I am exploring.
All right, you know,
across categories.
Across categories would of course include your interests in fashion and movies.
Sure, I think that goes without saying. Yeah.
Got it. Also, you know, something that I'm going to ask Anant as well, we are a business news channel. We tell people how to invest their money wisely, and of course he's there. Deepika, where do you park your money? You know, are you a safe investor? Is it real estate, gold, or mutual funds? Of course you have a team that handles it, but you know, are you very conscious of where all your hard-earned money is going?
I mean, I'm fully aware of my investments. Until I'd say a few years ago, my dad was handling all of it. He's, I think, slowly realizing that I'm capable today of understanding, at least, I wouldn't say entirely manage, but at least understand investments. I think it's across portfolios, it's across, you know, a little bit of everything. But yes, I think I'm at an age today where I can take a little bit of a risk.
All right. Anant, where do you park your money? I'm sure the Walmart
What
deal
money?
has also sort of made you richer in that sense.
No, so I also do a bit of a diversified portfolio. Incidentally, by the way, I don't invest any of my money. My wife does fully, so Sandhya does it all. So I actually don't do much investments. But I look at the startup space just because there's a lot of startups that come to me. I think it's partly investment, but it's also partly learning, because every time you actually talk to a startup, you learn something new. So I do some of that, and of course, other diversified portfolios.
And so you're open to sort of being a startup
You?
investor.
What about you?
You know, as he said, I also leave it to my wife to sort of manage the money.
How convenient.
I think just maybe to add to that, Rahul, I think on a more serious note, I think there will be multiple multi-billion-dollar businesses, at least in the digital consumer space, that get built over the next 10, 15 years in India, right? I mean, you see it coming. You see the internet penetration going up. You see the data coming. You see the GDP coming. So I think there's a huge opportunity in the startup space and to invest there.
Deepika, I must ask you this, Asian Games, we've seen awesome performance by the Indian contingent. In fact, you have supported your father in the Olympic gold quest. Do you think India is at an interesting cusp of a sporting revolution, so to say? And, would you look at spending a lot more time on it because you've sort of been personally involved right from your childhood?
Absolutely. I mean, to be very honest, yes, I was associated with the Olympic Gold Quest, but not since I started my mental health foundation, because I really feel that if you want to be able to create impact, I think I need to use my I'd say brand, or use my energies in, I'd like to focus it on one thing to be able to see impact over a long period of time, versus trying to do too many different things and then not being able to make much of a difference. Having said that, yes, I do get regular updates from my father about the athletes that they're supporting and their performances. Of course, I think the Asian Games was phenomenal. I think it's a start. I think for a lot of people to wake up and realize how important sport is. And how important it is to start at the grassroots level, how important it is to start young. If it doesn't start at the school level, it's too late. So I think the awareness is there now. And I think the number of medals we've won this year, I think, is enough of an eye opener.
The potential that really is.
And the potential, and hopefully I think for people who didn't have faith in athletes, or didn't feel like, or who didn't feel like investing their time or their money in sport was the right thing to do, hopefully they've, this has changed their minds.
The parents would also sort of look at this, in terms of encouraging this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I hope so. I really hope so. I really hope that parents encourage their kids. I was one of those students, I was not academically inclined, but always interested in sport. And, so you need, I think parents also need to encourage that from a very young age. I think now with the digital world, I think we tend to spend a lot of time indoors. But my childhood was very different. We'd come back from school and we would out in the building, cycling, playing cricket, playing hide and seek, whatever it is, but we were outdoors. And I see that changing a lot. I mean, it's changed completely. I don't see kids going out that much. So, to start young, start at a school level, for parents to encourage their, kids to go out, play a sport. It doesn't even have to be with, with having to play professional, but just that, I think, to encourage your child to go out and play. I think being professional, a professional athlete is probably the next step. If you see potential, then you can push the child or guide your child to the next level. I don't think one should put pressure on them of having to perform at a very young age, but just to encourage them as a sport,
to sort of encourage
the passion, and then, and then take it from there. If you see the talent, there's no end to how much one can achieve.
There's potential. Anand, you know, the sporting side of the business, you know, on Myntra, are you
Yep.
seeing those trends, you know, where people, you know, are increasingly looking at the, you know, sporting options on,
Yep.
on the app and website? What trends are you seeing, you know? Is this translating into a lot more people wanting to be healthy, you know, invest in
Yeah.
products?
So you certainly see it. I think sport in just fitness equipment is one of the fastest growing categories for us at Myntra. So sport is growing very fast. What you're finding, by the way, is that it's not just a particular sport, but people are taking to fitness in general, which I think is a very, very good trend. What's also encouraging for us, by the way, is that the age group. You're finding that between 18 and 35, you know, which is actually equally important. I think to Deepika's point, not everybody needs to be a professional, but everybody needs to be fit.
Correct.
So I think you're starting to see it for sure.
All right.
Some of our brands, athleisure brands, are growing really, really fast. Nike grows incredibly fast on us, and so on.
Last couple of questions,
Yeah.
Anant, I'll come to you, Deepika, in a while. In terms of offline plans, you know,
Yeah.
when all online, you know, e-tailers started off, it was about shopping online,
Sure.
having goods delivered, all of them. Myntra also played an early bet to have a
Sure.
few stores. Will that increasingly be the focus area? You know, will we see all about you stores? Because you're taking a brand approach to stores also. You don't
Sure.
want it to be a Myntra store, but have brands sort
Sure.
of back it. So, you know, what's the strategy going to be like as far as
Yeah.
stores?
So I'll answer it in two parts. I think omni-channel, which is basically making the tech work for you so that it's seamless when you shop online and offline, I think is going to be an important part. You know, we just brought Pretter, as you know, which is a small startup that actually connects brand stores, inventory, all of that into Myntra, right? So you make all inventory in India at some level available, and you can then deliver from anywhere, return anywhere, all of that is possible. So we're a big believer in the tech bet. I think individual single brand stores, we continue to explore whatever makes most amount of sense.
It's the festive season now. Big focus area, you know, you've launched a new autumn-winter collection that would really come out. What are the preparations, Anand? You know, it'd be the big time that people in India go out and spend online, shop increasingly, the discounts are at the best time. What sort of, you know, efforts have really gone into it?
So I think, look, we're looking forward to one of our best festive seasons. Ethnic will be a big focus, of course. Indian wear will be a big focus. Indian wear is growing at 70-75% year on year in Myntra. So for AAY as a brand, that'll be a big focus as we get into the festive season. We've actually got a great selection. We've got a great collection coming in. I think October, November, December has always been the best months for us. So we're very excited. We're looking forward to it. Lots of supply chain prep, lots of selection prep. So it's all coming together.
All right. A quick rapid fire with you. I'm not going to let you go without a rapid fire. You know, 2 fashion tips for men, not for women. For all the men really watching the show.
I think for me personally, shoes are really important.
Mumbai or Bangalore?
Bangalore,
Bajirao Mastani or Padmavat?
Padmavat any day.
Saina Nehwal or PV Sindhu?
Ask him.
Whom would you choose?
Both.
Will you ever direct a movie? Yes or no?
No, no, I don't think so. Not as of today at least. No.
Mobile apps that you're hooked to?
When the All About You app, when it launches.
Oh. On that note, thank you so much both of you for taking out the time and joining us. What an interesting conversation it's been. A side of Deepika Padukone you had never known.